The snow had stopped falling, but the wind still whispered through the skeletal remains of the town. Broken streetlights flickered like dying eyes, casting long, uneven shadows across cracked sidewalks. Every building wore its abandonment like a shroud. Shattered windows, paint peeling in curling strips, wreaths rotted into skeletons of greenery. Alex's boots crunched against the frozen leaves, the sound impossibly loud in the oppressive silence. Somewhere ahead, a faint melody drifted, a carol distorted and slow, like it had been twisted inside a music box left too long in the cold. The sound made Alex's stomach tighten. There was no one here. There couldn't be. A sudden flash of movement caught the corner of vision, a shadow slinking along the side of a collapsed church. Alex froze. The shadow paused, then vanished, leaving only the echo of the wind and the faint, taunting melody. "Hello," Alex whispered, voice cracking. Only the snow answered. A cold draft brushed the back of Alex's neck. From the darkness of the church doorway, a voice, low and brittle, whispered, "You shouldn't be here." Alex's heart thumped so violently it drowned out everything else. The church door, warped with age, creaked slowly open, as if inviting Alex in. Inside, faint candlelight danced across broken pews and a Christmas tree half covered in frost. Someone was waiting. The wind stilled, and all that remained was the heavy, suffocating silence. Then, a single, deliberate step echoed from the shadows beyond the altar. Alex stepped through the church doorway, and the cold air hit like a living thing, crawling down the spine and settling deep in the bones. The faint candlelight flickered over broken pews, revealing splintered wood and scattered ornaments caked in dust. Frost had claimed the edges of the stained glass windows, and the once bright reds and greens of Christmas decorations were dulled to gray whispers. Each step left prints in the thin layer of snow that had drifted inside, almost as if the building itself were recording every motion. The distorted carol continued to float in the air, soft, warped, echoing from corners that shouldn't exist. Alex froze near the entrance, listening. A metallic clink rang out somewhere to the right, like a bell tipped over. Heart thudding, Alex edged forward, boots crunching over fallen branches and fragments of wood. The smell of rot and mildew was thick, clinging to every breath, making it hard to think. On the altar, a tree leaned dangerously, candles melted to blobs of wax, ornaments dangling like forgotten eyes staring down. Alex's gaze caught something odd, a music box half buried in snow-dusted debris. Its tiny key spun slowly in place, ticking unevenly. Alex bent down, brushing away the frost, and the carol twisted again, each note bending into something wrong, almost mocking. "Why is anyone still here?" Alex muttered, voice breaking in the cold. No answer came, only the hollow echo of the church itself. A sudden scrape from the balcony above made Alex's stomach knot. Looking up, shadows shifted against the wooden railing. The balcony was high, empty, or so it seemed. Then a faint whisper, almost human, drifted down. "Leave." Alex's pulse spiked. Every instinct screamed to turn and run, but curiosity rooted the body in place. Memories of online forums and abandoned place thrill seekers played in the mind. The town had been deserted years ago after the disappearances. Every Christmas, a family or visitor vanishing without a trace. People whispered about curses, rituals, things that were never meant to be seen. Footsteps echoed behind Alex. Spinning, Alex saw nothing. The only sound was the wind pushing through cracks in the broken windows. The sense of being watched settled heavily. The pews creaked as if shifting under some unseen weight. Alex swallowed hard and moved toward the altar, every sense on edge. A small side door caught the eye. Frost covered its edges, and scratches lined its surface, deep and old, jagged like claw marks. Alex hesitated, the air thick with unease. A shiver ran down the spine, not from cold, but from the certainty that something had left those marks. Inside the small room, the air was colder still, and the floorboards moaned beneath weightless pressure. On the wall, names were scrawled in faded red. Children, adults, even pets. Some names were crossed out, others circled repeatedly. At the center, a fresh name glimmered faintly, almost wet. Alex stepped closer. Heart in throat, breath clouding the air. Alex traced the letters. They were today's date. A door slammed somewhere behind, making the entire church vibrate with sound. Alex whirled, eyes wide, and froze. The doorway through which Alex had entered was gone. Only the shadows remained, stretching unnaturally across the floor. The distorted carol warped again, this time accompanied by a soft, rhythmic tapping, like fingers brushing over broken glass. Alex tried the side door. It didn't budge. Panic pressed against the chest. Every instinct screamed to leave, but no path led outside. The church had become unfamiliar, alien, as if it had grown while Alex wasn't watching. Snowflakes drifted through cracks where there should have been walls, swirling around in eddies like spirits trapped inside. A low voice, barely more than a vibration in the air, whispered, "You came back." Alex spun, searching for the source. Empty pews, shattered ornaments, and frost-slick floors reflected the candlelight in distorted patterns. Shadows clung to corners, stretching and flexing, mocking the human eyes that tried to read them. Another whisper, closer this time. "It waits." The temperature dropped sharply. Frost began forming on Alex's eyelashes. Every sound, the wind, the faint ticking of the music box, the creak of the floorboards, felt amplified, purposeful. A sense of inevitability pressed in. Something had been waiting for Alex, had always been waiting for someone. Taking a shaky step forward, Alex's hand brushed against the altar. The surface was cold, almost wet. Something glittered under the candles, a fragment of broken ornament that reflected a face. Alex froze, heart hammering. The face was familiar. Impossibly familiar. It smiled, lips cracked, eyes hollow. A sudden, sharp knock echoed from the balcony above, reverberating through the floorboards. Alex's breath hitched. Something moved behind the altar, too fast to see, but too large to be ignored. The music box stopped ticking. Silence fell, dense and suffocating, broken only by the whisper, "You shouldn't be here." Alex realized with a sick twist of fear that leaving was no longer optional. The church wasn't just abandoned, it was alive. Waiting. Watching. And whatever had been here before, whatever had taken them, had left instructions written in names and frost for the next visitor. Alex swallowed, forcing a step forward. The deeper rooms beckoned, dark and silent, secrets buried under decades of snow, dust, and blood. Curiosity warred with terror, but the pull was irresistible. And as the church door groaned behind, slamming shut on its own, Alex understood. Christmas had come for this place, and for anyone foolish enough to enter. Alex's footsteps echoed through the darkened church, each creak of the floorboards a reminder of the isolation. The music box had fallen silent, leaving only the soft wind and the faint creak of the peeling rafters above. The walls seemed to lean inward, pressing, whispering. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the pews, merging into shapes that disappeared when looked at directly. Every instinct screamed to run, but curiosity, that foolish human curiosity, rooted Alex to the spot. The hidden side door led to a narrow corridor lined with broken doors. Frost coated the thresholds, and inside some rooms, the remnants of Christmas past lingered like ghosts. A shattered sleigh ornament here, a melted candle there, a child's toy abandoned mid-play. Alex's hand brushed over a frozen doll, its glassy eyes staring without mercy. A whisper curled around the edges of hearing, almost intelligible. "He watches. Always." Alex's pulse thumped violently. Who's there? The voice was swallowed by the air, leaving only the oppressive silence. Yet the feeling persisted. Someone or something was just out of sight. One room was different. The door was cracked just enough to reveal a wall lined with faded photographs, some yellowed with age, others nearly black with smoke and decay. Families, smiling in old-fashioned Christmas attire, frozen mid-laughter. Some faces had eyes scratched out. Others bore marks like tally lines, a record of something beyond comprehension. Alex stepped closer, fingers trembling. A cold draft brushed across the back of the neck. Alex spun around. Shadows seemed to gather in the corner, pooling into a shape that resembled a human figure. "Go before it finds you," a voice hissed, low and urgent. Alex backed up, falling against the wall. The hallway stretched, longer than it had moments before, walls bending unnaturally. The ceiling seemed impossibly high, yet closed in at the edges. The church had changed, shifted like it was alive, observing, playing. Memories of local news reports flickered. Stories of people vanishing every Christmas, no trace left behind. Alex's phone buzzed in the pocket, and pulling it out, there was a single new message. "They took me. Don't come back." The sender was unknown, the timestamp decades old. The screen flickered, then went black. A sound like fingernails scratching over wood came from above. Alex froze, straining to locate the source. The balcony railing above was empty, or appeared empty, but the scratching continued, circling closer now. Then a voice, brittle, whispering through the rafters. "It waits for the next." Alex swallowed hard, knees trembling. It was becoming impossible to trust perception. Every shadow, every shifted object, every whisper made the brain strain for coherence. Time warped, the old clock on the wall ticked forward, backward, paused, then skipped minutes in an instant. Alex's breath came in shallow bursts, fogging the air. A door at the end of the corridor loomed. It was slightly ajar, frost framing the edges, jagged like teeth. Something inside hummed softly, a carol distorted again, broken like the music box. Alex pushed it open. Inside was a small chapel, long forgotten, walls lined with names. Hundreds of them, written in fading red. Families, children, individuals, each one crossed out with a different stroke. And then, a fresh name, written in glistening, wet red. Alex's chest tightened. Today's date. "No," Alex whispered. Every muscle screamed to run, but legs refused to move. A shadow flickered across the names, pooling, twisting, forming shapes that resembled screaming faces for a heartbeat, then melting back into darkness. From somewhere behind, a slow, deliberate step. Alex spun, heart in throat, but saw nothing. The door through which entry had been made had vanished. Only walls and shadows now, bending, endless. The whisper returned, clearer this time. "You should never have come back." Alex tried to force calm, taking deep breaths, but the air was thick with dread, like the church exhaled it intentionally. Stepping forward, eyes scanning, Alex found remnants of previous visitors. Crumbled notes, faded photographs, audio tapes. One tape caught attention, labeled in jagged handwriting, "It's waiting for you." Hands trembling, Alex pressed play. The static hiss resolved into a voice. Tense, terrified. "I don't know why I came back. I thought I could. I thought I could see it, understand it. But it sees me. It knows me." And now, the tape stopped, static again filling the silence. Alex's stomach churned. Whoever had recorded it had never left. In the chapel, the candles flickered. A slight movement at the edge of vision made Alex spin again. A figure, tall and thin, almost dissolving into shadow, hovered near the altar. Its face was indistinct, but the voice, low and rasping, spoke directly in Alex's mind. "You are next. You cannot leave." A sudden, sharp sound drew attention upward. The balcony, long empty, now had a child, small and pale, staring down with eyes black and unblinking. The mouth moved in a silent plea. Alex blinked, and the child was gone. Only a chill remained, curling like smoke around the feet. Panic began to fracture rational thought. Alex stumbled down the corridor, each door opening to more distorted, impossible spaces. In one room, a fireplace glowed with cold blue flame. Frost patterns on the walls twisted into faces, mouths opening in silent screams. From above, a choir of whispers. "We were here. We remain. You will remain." Alex's mind raced. Every legend read in forums, every article about the town. Suddenly real, undeniable. The disappearances, the cursed families, the warnings, they weren't superstition. They were instructions. Instructions for the next visitor. And Alex had followed them here, willingly or not. The corridor narrowed, walls breathing, pulsing in rhythm with the heart. The music box started again, tiny notes warping, bending reality around them. Alex's own reflection appeared in broken glass scattered across the floor, but wrong. Hollow eyes, twisted grin, as if the reflection had been waiting. "Stop, it's not real," Alex whispered. But the voice inside the chapel answered. "It is." And it always will be. Every shadow now seemed alive, crawling along walls, coiling around furniture, brushing the edges of perception. The distant sounds of past visitors, footsteps, laughter, cries, layered over one another in a chorus of despair. A door, barely visible at the far end of the chapel, beckoned. Beyond it, Alex could sense something more, something vast and patient. Every instinct screamed against approaching, but curiosity, that dangerous human trait, pushed forward. Inside, a hidden room revealed the ultimate evidence. Names of the disappeared etched on every surface, symbols drawn in dust and wax, and a single unsettling object at the center. A crude effigy, twisted and small, holding a shard of mirror that reflected Alex's face. Only it wasn't quite right. The eyes behind the reflection were black, endless, staring through into something that wasn't human. And then, from the shadows, a whisper. "You see them now. Soon you will join them." Alex's knees buckled, breath coming in ragged gasps. Every micro-event, the moving chairs, the shifting shadows, the whispers, no longer seemed accidental. The church was alive. It had always been alive, feeding on fear, drawing in the curious, leaving nothing but names and echoes behind. The walls seemed to pulse, closing in. Frost swirled violently in eddies that defied physics. Snow drifting through cracks that had no reason to exist. Alex's hands went to the effigy, half in defiance, half in desperation, but the object burned cold, a chill that seeped into the soul. A single, deliberate step echoed behind Alex. Then another, and another. The sound multiplied, becoming a chorus of countless footsteps. They weren't approaching, they were already there, surrounding, pressing in, pulling Alex into the inevitable truth. The fate of all who came before was now Alex's fate to inherit. Alex's mind teetered on the edge. Was this real? Or had the church, the town, the whispers warped perception entirely? One thing was undeniable. The horror had a history, a pattern, and now Alex had become part of it. And somewhere, deep within the church, hidden from view, a distorted, broken carol played again. A single note stretched endlessly, echoing the promise. "You will never leave." Alex's hands shook as they reached for the effigy in the hidden room, the shard of mirror-reflecting eyes that were no longer human. Shadows pooled around the corners, stretching and twisting in ways the mind could barely comprehend. The church had grown impossibly larger, walls curving inward, ceiling vanishing into darkness, and the floor beneath Alex's feet pulsing like a heartbeat. Each step felt heavier, like wading through water made of cold, viscous fear. A whisper hissed from the shadows. "You can't leave, not yet." Alex stumbled backward, nearly toppling over a broken pew. Panic clawed up the throat, a scream rising but swallowed by the vast, oppressive silence. The air vibrated, thickening with tension. Every candle flared then dimmed in quick succession, shadows dancing violently on the walls. Movement at the edge of vision, tall, formless, shifting like smoke, hovered near the doorway. The shape coalesced briefly into a figure, a twisted, elongated human-like form, mouth stretched impossibly wide in a silent scream. Black eyes reflected Alex's own, but hollow, empty, and hungry. I just want to leave," Alex stammered, voice trembling. A chorus of whispers answered from every direction. "You've always been here. You've always been ours." The shard in the effigy glowed faintly, a pulse that matched Alex's pounding heart. Shadows detached themselves from the walls, crawling toward the center of the room like liquid darkness. The air turned icy, breath freezing in midair. Every surface shimmered with impossible reflections of past visitors, faces distorted, mouths open in eternal screams. Alex's mind reeled. Time had lost meaning. The distorted carol twisted again, notes stretching, bending, looping endlessly. From above, footsteps, hundreds of them, echoed in chaotic rhythm, yet none could be traced. The church had become a living nightmare, breathing, watching, waiting. A voice, familiar yet impossibly warped, whispered directly into Alex's mind. "We are all here, and now so are you." Alex spun, searching for an exit, any exit. The doors were gone, replaced by walls of black smoke curling upward, twisting, snaking around each other like serpents. A gust of wind, freezing, swirled inside the room, extinguishing the remaining candles. Shadows thickened, forming grotesque faces that grinned, wept, screamed, all at once. Alex's chest tightened, every breath shallow and painful. A whisper. "Look at us, join us." The shard of mirror in the effigy pulsed again. Alex's reflection no longer mirrored movement but anticipated it. The eyes inside blackened completely, staring not at the world, but through it. A voice, low and chilling, emanated from the reflection. "You are ours." Suddenly, the floor beneath Alex buckled. A sound like shattering glass erupted from all directions. Shadows surged upward, flowing into a single immense entity that now towered over everything. It was formless yet vaguely human, limbs stretching impossibly, head tilted, mouth opening wider than physics allowed. Its voice, or perhaps a chorus of voices, echoed through the warped space. "We were never gone. We wait. We consume. You will not leave." Alex stumbled backward, knees hitting cold stone, or was it frost? Time fractured further. Walls stretched, shrank, warped. Every door opened into more hallways, more rooms, each populated with screaming faces and whispering shadows. One hallway ended in a frozen pond, where reflections of missing visitors twisted and beckoned. Another doorway led to a skyless void, snow falling upward, melting into the blackness. "No, please, leave me alone," Alex shouted, voice cracking, desperate. The entity advanced, or perhaps space itself folded forward, bringing it impossibly close. Shadows leapt from the walls, coiling around Alex, tugging at clothes, hair, flesh, mind. The shard glowed violently now, burning cold, radiating a pain that seeped into every nerve. A whisper, sharp and direct. "Do you remember them? Do you remember why you came?" Images flashed in Alex's mind. Newspaper clippings, faded photographs, online forums, snippets of news broadcasts. Names of families, visitors, children who vanished, all recorded in the church's hidden rooms. Each one a warning ignored, a mistake repeated. Alex saw faces staring from mirrors, from broken ornaments, from shadows themselves. And now, Alex's own reflection had been claimed, corrupted, waiting for the moment of final surrender. The entity spoke again, a chorus of broken human and inhuman voices. "Your fear feeds us. Your hope is gone. You are inevitable." Alex's hands went to the shard. "No, I'm not." A sudden, searing pain shot through every joint, every nerve, every thought. Shadows leapt, black tendrils wrapping around arms, legs, torso. Alex fell to the floor, struggling, but gravity itself seemed to betray human logic. Each movement pushed against a wall that had moved, folding space into itself. Breathing was impossible. Each inhale a scream trapped in frozen lungs. Above, the balcony shifted. Hundreds of faint, pale faces peered down from the shadows, mouths moving in silent screams. They reached with hands that weren't really hands, grasping through walls, furniture, the very air itself. The whispers layered into a chorus. "Join us! Join us! Join us!" Alex's vision blurred. The music box's carol warped into grotesque laughter. The church, the town, the walls, the floor. Everything pulsed in rhythm with the shard, and the shard pulsed in rhythm with fear. A shiver ran down the spine, followed by nausea, vertigo, and a cold that seeped into the soul. In one last act of desperation, Alex slammed the shard against the floor. It shattered, or perhaps multiplied. Each fragment reflected not reality, but possibility, showing endless deaths, endless suffering, endless surrender. Shadows surged into these reflections, twisting and writhing. "You," a voice hissed, now in Alex's own voice, "are ours." The room seemed to collapse inward. Walls folded, ceiling fell, floor dissolved. Alex felt being pulled apart, cell by cell, mind unraveling, consciousness fraying. Every scream heard before, every visitor lost, layered over Alex's own, blending into a singularity of terror. And then, a brief, fleeting moment of clarity. Alex saw the altar from before, the hidden room, the effigy, the name scrawled in red. A single thought: I have to survive. I can't be next. But the entity, formless, all-consuming, pulsed again. It did not ask. It did not negotiate. It did not stop. The pull was inevitable. Time, space, and even will itself were meaningless. The shadows surrounded completely, cold and dense, pressing into every nerve, every thought. Alex's voice trembling. "No, I won't." The shadows answered, a cacophony of human and inhuman tones. "You will. You always do. You cannot escape. Christmas waits. And we always wait." Every sense shattered. Breath, sight, sound, thought, all consumed in darkness, silence, cold, and the whispers of those long gone. The church had claimed another, folding Alex into its history, adding a new name to the walls, a new echo to the shadows. And then, stillness. The distorted carol played again, slow, deliberate. A candle flickered. Frost drifted through cracks that weren't there before. Footsteps, just one pair, crossed the floor. Outside, snow fell silently over the abandoned town. Inside, the church waited. The wind outside howled over the abandoned town, carrying snow that glittered like shards of glass. The church sat silent, frozen in time, its broken windows like empty eyes staring into the void. Inside, nothing moved. Or at least, nothing obvious. The altar was empty. The effigy lay shattered on the floor. The shard of mirror glimmered faintly among the debris, a faint pulse that no one could see. Alex, or what had been Alex, was gone. Not missing, not hidden, not surviving. Only a hollow echo remained, a faint imprint in the cold stone, barely perceptible unless the silence was broken in just the right way. For weeks, the town remained deserted. Surveyors, thrill-seekers, and the occasional lost traveler passed by its perimeter, noting only the stillness, the strange shadows that seemed to stretch and bend in the snow, and the eerie, lingering melodies that floated on the wind. But no one entered. The church doors were firmly shut, frost framing them like the teeth of a trap, discouraging even the bravest. A small drone, sent by a group of urban explorers months later, hovered above the church. Its camera captured empty pews, the collapsed roof, frost on ornaments, and the faint shimmer of broken glass. The operator zoomed in, noticing the shard of mirror still glinting. Then the feed went static. A faint whisper drifted through the audio. "We wait. Always." Inside the church, silence returned. Shadows pooled in corners, shifting slightly, restless. It had learned. The entity always learned. It would wait for the next curious visitor, the next human drawn to the abandoned town, to the distorted carols, to the cold, hollow Christmas lights. Time passed differently here, or didn't pass at all. A snowstorm raged outside, burying the town deeper, insulating the church from the world. And inside, the frozen remnants of previous visitors lay scattered, almost imperceptible, etched into the walls with names, symbols, and scratches. Faint echoes of whispered warnings bounced from corner to corner, forming a chorus of despair. Some nights, if one listened carefully from outside, it was said you could hear footsteps inside the church. Not just the wind. Not the shift of snow. Footsteps heavy with purpose. Echoes of voices pleading or screaming, no one could tell which, carried through the empty streets. And sometimes, if the wind was right, a single distorted note of a carol would escape through a broken window, haunting travelers, a faint echo of the horrors trapped inside. For the town, for the church, for anyone who had ever dared to enter, nothing had changed. The building breathed in silence. The walls recorded every thought, every fear, every misstep. Names, faces, warnings, and screams were stitched into its very foundation. And yet, as calm returned to the town, the shard of mirror on the altar pulsed faintly, almost imperceptibly. It caught the pale candlelight that no one had lit, reflecting not the world as it was, but as it could be. In its reflection, faint eyes blinked, black, endless, and unyielding. It was a trap, a snare, a waiting room for those foolish enough to trespass. The entity had no need for haste. It could wait centuries, decades, or minutes. Time had no meaning within these walls. And though the world outside went on unaware, the church remained, a monument to inevitability, a predator in frozen snow, a keeper of those who had dared to trespass on its cursed domain. The snow continued to fall. A visitor might come again. Someone curious, daring, thinking themselves clever enough to defy the warnings scrawled in yellowed newspapers, whispers of survivors, and the black glass of broken ornaments. That person would step cautiously, uncertain, into the empty streets. The town would seem still, abandoned, harmless. Yet inside, the church would be awake, waiting, patient, watching. Inside, shadows stirred. Faint, almost imperceptible at first, as if stretching after a long sleep. Then, slowly, tendrils of black seeped across the floor, curling upward, wrapping around broken furniture, frozen decorations, and shattered glass. They reached toward the shard, pulsing as it glimmered. The pulse matched the rhythm of the church itself, as if heart and stone were one. A faint whisper drifted down the empty hallways. "You will never leave. You will join them." Outside, snow blanketed the town, muffling sound, hiding movement. Streetlights flickered in a slow, dying rhythm. Footsteps crunching in the snow could be imagined, or real. No one would know. Inside the church, frozen pews reflected fractured images of the past. A family vanished in 1982, a group of teens in 1997, a single traveler in 2005. And now, a new presence lingered, faint but undeniable. The candlelight flickered again. Shadows twisted into forms vaguely human, whispering in unison. "We wait. Always. We wait for you." No one responded. No one survived to respond. Only the waiting remained, patient, inevitable, eternal. Outside, the snowstorm intensified. The abandoned town disappeared under a blinding white coat, indistinguishable from any other forest clearing. Yet the church remained, a monolith of horror, a predator waiting for the next curious soul. The world outside moved on, oblivious. Time passed. Life continued. But within those walls, the story repeated endlessly, a cycle without end, a nightmare etched in stone, frost, and shadow. And in the stillness, the faintest sound lingered, almost inaudible. The distorted notes of a music box, playing a carol that would never end. No one had left. No one would leave. The church had won. Outside, the wind carried a whisper across the frozen streets, brushing snow against abandoned windows. "You shouldn't be here." And far off, perhaps in some small, trembling town not far away, a curious traveler might pause, hearing the whisper and the faint echo of a carol. Something might tug at their curiosity. And the snow continued to fall, silent and white, as the church waited patiently, eternally, for its next visitor. The lights inside flickered faintly again, revealing the blackened eyes of a reflection in the shard of mirror. They blinked, unyielding. And somewhere in the infinite silence, a whisper promised the truth that could never be denied. Christmas has come, and it waits for all who enter.